Dr. Emma Martinez walked through the medical bay of Aurora Dawn Station. The lights hummed softly above her head. She had been working late again, studying alien blood samples. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she did not care. Science was her passion, and alien biology fascinated her more than anything else in the universe. The station orbited a neutral trade planet where many species came to do business. Emma often got to see creatures she had only read about in textbooks. Today had been quiet, though. Most of the traders were sleeping or in their quarters. A loud bang echoed through the medical bay. Emma looked up from her microscope. Someone was pounding on the door with great force. She hurried to open it and found herself face to face with the most beautiful alien she had ever seen. The creature was tall and elegant, with skin that seemed to shimmer like crystal. Her eyes were large and silver and filled with tears. She wore flowing robes that changed color as she moved. Emma recognized her as a Valthani from the Outer Rim worlds. Behind the tall alien was a small child who looked very sick. The little one was pale and shaking. Her crystal skin had lost its shine and looked dull and gray. She could barely stand on her own legs. The adult alien spoke in broken human language. Her voice was musical but filled with panic. She said her name was Zara, and the child was her daughter Kira. The little girl was dying, and they had nowhere else to go. Emma quickly brought them inside. She had Zara place Kira on one of the medical beds. The child was burning with fever, and her breathing was very shallow. Emma ran her scanner over the small body and did not like what she saw. Kira had some kind of blood disease. Her cells were breaking down, and her body could not make new ones fast enough. Without treatment, she would die within days. Emma had studied Valthani biology before, but had never seen anything like this. Zara explained that this sickness ran in their family. Most children who got it died young. The only cure was a blood transfusion from another Valthani with the right type. But they were far from their home world, and there were no other Valthani on the station. Emma thought hard about the problem. Valthani blood was very different from human blood. It contained special minerals that helped their crystal skin stay strong. Most alien blood types could not mix safely, but Emma remembered reading something interesting in her studies. She pulled up files on her computer and searched through research papers. There it was. An old study suggested that human blood might work as a bridge treatment for Valthani. The human blood would need to be cleaned and changed, but it could keep a sick Valthani alive long enough to find proper treatment. The process was dangerous and had never been tested on a living patient. It was also against station rules to do unauthorized medical procedures. But as Emma looked at little Kira getting weaker by the minute, she knew she had to try. She explained the plan to Zara. The alien mother listened carefully. Her silver eyes grew wide with hope and fear. She asked if Emma was sure this would work. Emma told her honestly that she did not know, but it was their only chance. Zara grabbed Emma by the hands. Her touch was cool and sent tiny sparks through Emma's fingers. She begged Emma to try anything that might save her daughter. She said she would give anything to keep Kira alive. Emma nodded and got to work. She connected herself to the blood processing machine. The device would take her blood and filter it to remove things that might hurt Kira. Then it would add minerals that Valthani blood needed. The first transfusion took 2 hours. Emma felt weak when it was done, but Kira looked a little better. Her breathing became easier, and some color returned to her crystal skin. Zara cried tears of joy and thanked Emma over and over. But one transfusion was not enough. Emma had to give blood every day for a week. Each time left her more tired, but she did not stop. She watched Kira slowly get stronger. The little girl even started to smile and play with simple toys. During those long days, Zara told Emma about their world. She spoke of crystal cities that sang in the wind and forests where the trees grew gems instead of fruit. She talked about how much she loved her daughter and how afraid she had been of losing her dot. Emma learned that Zara was traveling alone. Kira's father had died in an accident years ago. Since then, it had been just the two of them exploring the galaxy together. They were on their way to visit Zara's family when Kira got sick. On the 7th day, Kira was strong enough to sit up and eat solid food. Her crystal skin had regained its beautiful shimmer. She laughed when Emma made funny faces and tried to speak human words. Emma felt proud that her risky plan had worked. Zara hugged Emma tightly before they left. She promised she would never forget what Emma had done for them. She said Emma had given her the most precious gift in the universe by saving her child's life. Emma told her she was just doing her job as a doctor, but deep down Emma knew it was more than that. She had broken rules and risked her career to help strangers. Something about Zara and Kira had touched her heart in a way she did not fully understand. As she watched their ship disappear into space, she felt both happy and sad. Emma returned to her normal routine. She filed fake reports about the medical supplies she had used. She told her supervisor that she had been treating crew members with a stomach virus. No one questioned her story. 3 months passed. Emma continued her research and helped treat various aliens who came to the station. She often thought about Zara and Kira and wondered how they were doing. She hoped they had made it safely to their family and that Kira stayed healthy. Little did Emma know that her act of kindness had set in motion events that would change her life forever. In Valthani culture, saving someone's life created a sacred bond that could never be broken. Zara had not forgotten her promise and was already making plans to repay the debt she owed to the human doctor who had saved her precious daughter. Emma was examining tissue samples when the station's alarm system began to chime. The sound meant that a large ship was approaching. She looked up from her work and wondered what kind of vessel would be arriving at this hour. Commander Lisa Brooks spoke over the station's communication system. Her voice sounded surprised and maybe a little nervous. She announced that a Valthani diplomatic ship was requesting permission to dock. The ship was much larger than normal trading vessels and appeared to belong to nobility. Emma felt her heart skip a beat. She had not heard from any Valthani since Zara and Kira left 3 months ago. She tried to focus on her work but found herself glancing at the viewing screen every few minutes. The ship that docked was magnificent. It was 3 times the size of most vessels that visited the station. Its hull was made of the same crystal material as Valthani skin, and it seemed to glow with inner light. Beautiful patterns were carved into its surface that shifted and changed as Emma watched. An hour later, Emma received a message on her personal communicator. Commander Brooks wanted to see her in the main conference room immediately. Emma saved her work and hurried through the station corridors. She had no idea why she was being called to meet with alien diplomats. When she entered the conference room, Emma gasped in shock. Zara stood at the far end of the table wearing elaborate robes covered in jewels. She looked even more beautiful than Emma remembered. Next to her was little Kira, who had grown taller and stronger. Her crystal skin sparkled with perfect health. But Zara was not alone. 6 other Valthani stood behind her in formation. They wore formal clothing and carried ceremonial staffs. Their faces were serious and dignified. Emma had never seen so many important-looking aliens in one place. Commander Brooks sat at the head of the table, looking confused. She was a practical woman who dealt with trade disputes and supply problems. Diplomatic ceremonies were not her specialty. She gestured for Emma to take a seat and then looked at Zara expectantly. Zara stepped forward and began to speak. Her human language had improved greatly since their last meeting. She announced that she was Lady Zarathus of the Crystal Throne and heir to the Shimmer Domain. Emma's mouth fell open. The alien she had helped was royalty. Zara continued her speech. She explained that Emma had saved the life of Princess Kiraneth, who was next in line to rule their world. In Valthani culture, this created a life debt that could only be repaid in one way. Zara had come to offer Emma the greatest honor there people could give. 2 of the Valthani stepped forward, carrying a large chest made of living wood. The wood seemed to pulse with a gentle heartbeat. They placed it on the table and stepped back. Zara opened the chest with great ceremony. Inside were the most beautiful objects Emma had ever seen. There were crystals that sang when touched by light. There were devices made of metal that seemed to flow like water. There were fabrics that changed color with the viewer's emotions. Each item was priceless and beyond human technology. But the most impressive gift was brought in last, for Valthani carried something covered by a shimmering cloth. When they removed the covering, Emma saw a bed unlike anything she could imagine. It was carved from a single piece of living tree that still grew and breathed. Flowers bloomed along its frame that gave off a sweet scent. Zara explained that this was a marriage bed, crafted by their finest artisans. It had taken their people 3 months to grow and shape it specifically for Emma. The bed was alive and would respond to the emotions and dreams of whoever slept in it. It could even connect the minds of 2 people who shared it. Emma stared at the gifts in shock. Commander Brooks asked what exactly was happening. Zara turned to face Emma directly and spoke words that made Emma's head spin. Zara announced that she was offering herself in marriage to Emma. The dowry before them represented her family's wealth and status. By accepting the marriage, Emma would become part of Valthani nobility. She would have access to their advanced technology and knowledge. Most importantly, she would become Kira's second mother and help raise the future queen. Emma felt like the room was spinning around her. She had expected maybe a thank you gift or a certificate of appreciation. She had never imagined that saving a child's life would lead to a marriage proposal from an alien princess. Commander Brooks jumped up from her chair. She started to explain that humans had different customs around marriage. She said that people could not just arrange marriages without the consent of both parties. The whole situation was moving too fast for her to understand. Zara listened politely, but seemed confused by the objections. She explained that in her culture, marriage was not about romance alone. It was about creating bonds between families and sharing responsibilities. She was not forcing Emma to love her. She was offering Emma a place in her family and a chance to help guide their people. Little Kira spoke up for the first time. Her voice was like tiny silver bells. She told Emma that she remembered how gentle and kind Emma had been during her sickness. She said she would be honored to have Emma as a second mother. She promised to be a good daughter and to learn from Emma's wisdom. Emma looked around the room at all the expectant faces. The Valthani delegation waited silently for her answer. Commander Brooks looked like she wanted to call for backup. Kira smiled hopefully at Emma with her big silver eyes. Emma realized that she needed time to think. This was the biggest decision of her life, and she could not make it quickly. She asked Zara if she could have some time to consider the offer. She wanted to learn more about Valthani marriage customs and what would be expected of her. Zara nodded graciously. She said that such an important decision should not be rushed. She offered to stay on the station for several days so that Emma could ask questions and get to know her better. She also wanted Emma to spend time with Kira so they could bond as a family. Commander Brooks suggested that the Valthani delegation be given guest quarters in the diplomatic section of the station. She also said she would need to contact human authorities about the situation. A marriage between a human and alien royalty could have political implications that were beyond her authority. As the meeting ended, Emma felt overwhelmed by everything that had happened. A few hours ago, her biggest worry was whether her tissue samples would be ready for analysis. Now she was being offered marriage to an alien princess and a chance to help raise a future queen. Emma walked back to her quarters in a daze. She passed other crew members in the hallways, but barely noticed them. Her mind was full of questions about what her life might become if she accepted Zara's offer. She also wondered what would happen if she refused. That night, Emma lay in her simple human bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere else on the station was a magical marriage bed that had been grown specifically for her. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. She knew that tomorrow would bring difficult decisions that would shape the rest of her life. Emma spent a sleepless night thinking about Zara's proposal. When morning came, she still felt confused and overwhelmed. She decided to start her day normally by going to the medical bay to work. Maybe familiar routines would help clear her mind. But the station was buzzing with activity. News of the Valthani delegation had spread quickly. Crew members whispered to each other in the hallways about the alien royalty on board. Some seemed excited while others looked worried about what this might mean for the station. Emma had barely reached her laboratory when Commander Brooks contacted her again. The commander asked Emma to meet her in her office, along with Amy Rodriguez, who was the station's diplomatic specialist. Emma sighed and put down her research equipment. It seemed like normal work would have to wait. Amy Rodriguez was a smart woman in her 40s who had studied alien cultures for most of her career. She had arrived on the night shift specifically to help with the Valthani situation. When Emma entered the commander's office, Amy was already reading through files on her tablet. Amy looked up at Emma with curious eyes. She explained that she had been researching Valthani marriage customs all night. What she had learned was both fascinating and concerning. Amy said that Emma needed to understand exactly what she was being offered before making any decisions. According to Amy's research, Valthani society was built around the concept of life debts. When someone saved another person's life, they created a sacred bond that could never be broken. The only way to properly repay such a debt was through marriage, which would unite the two families forever. But Valthani marriage was very different from human marriage. Amy explained that it was not primarily about romantic love. Instead, it was about creating partnerships that would benefit both families and their communities. Married Valthanis shared resources, knowledge, and responsibilities equally. Amy showed Emma pictures of Valthani family groups. Unlike humans who usually married in pairs, Valthani often had complex family structures with multiple partners and shared children. The goal was to create strong support networks that could handle any challenges that arose. Emma learned that the marriage bed was not just furniture. It was a living organism that could connect the minds and emotions of people who used it. Valthani partners could share dreams, memories, and even extend each other's lifespans through this connection. It was considered the most intimate bond possible between two beings. Commander Brooks pointed out the political implications of the situation. Zara was not just any alien noble. She was a high-ranking member of one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. A marriage alliance with her could open up incredible opportunities for human advancement. But there were also risks. If Emma accepted the proposal and then the marriage failed, it could damage relations between humans and Valthani for generations. The commander said she had already contacted Earth authorities about the situation. They were sending a team of negotiators to help handle the diplomatic aspects. Amy suggested that Emma should spend time with Zara and Kira to learn more about their culture firsthand. She recommended asking direct questions about what would be expected in the marriage. Emma needed to know if she would be required to live on the Valthani homeworld or if she could continue her research career. Emma agreed that learning more was a good idea. She asked Commander Brooks to arrange meetings with the Valthani delegation. She wanted to understand their culture better before making such a life-changing decision. Later that morning, Emma met with Zara in the station's observation lounge. The room had large windows that looked out at the stars. Zara was sitting quietly watching ships come and go from the trade planet below. She looked peaceful and dignified in her flowing robes. Emma sat down next to Zara and tried to think of how to begin. She finally decided to be direct about her concerns. She explained that human marriage customs were very different from what Zara was proposing. Humans usually married for love after getting to know each other well. Zara listened carefully to Emma's explanation. She seemed genuinely interested in learning about human culture. She asked Emma to describe how human marriages worked and what made them successful or unsuccessful. Emma found herself talking about relationships in ways she had never discussed before. She explained how humans dated and fell in love gradually. She described the importance of compatibility and shared interests. She also talked about the challenges of making a lifelong commitment to another person. Zara nodded thoughtfully as Emma spoke. When Emma finished, Zara began to share her own experiences. She explained that she had been married before to Kira's father. Their marriage had been arranged by their families, but they had grown to love and respect each other deeply over time. Zara's husband had died in a mining accident when Kira was very young. Since then, Zara had raised her daughter alone, while also fulfilling her duties as a noble. She had been lonely at times but had focused on preparing Kira to eventually rule their domain. Emma asked Zara why she was willing to marry a complete stranger just to repay a life debt. Zara explained that Emma was not a stranger to her. During the week when Emma had saved Kira's life, Zara had observed Emma's character closely. She had seen Emma's compassion, courage, and dedication. Zara told Emma that she believed they could build a good partnership together. She was not expecting instant love, but she thought they could develop mutual respect and affection over time. She also believed that Emma would be an excellent influence on Kira as she grew up. Emma asked what would happen if she refused the marriage offer. Zara's expression became sad but understanding. She explained that refusing would not create enemies between their peoples. However, it would mean that the life debt would remain unpaid, which would bring shame to Zara's family. More importantly, Zara said that she genuinely wanted Emma to become part of their family. She had hoped that Emma might see the proposal as an opportunity for adventure and growth, rather than just an obligation. Little Kira appeared in the doorway of the lounge. She had been exploring the station with one of Zara's attendants. Her eyes lit up when she saw Emma, and she ran over to hug her. Kira's enthusiasm and affection were impossible to resist. Kira showed Emma a drawing she had made of the three of them together on the Valthani homeworld. In the picture, Emma wore flowing robes like Zara, and they were all holding hands under trees that grew crystal fruit. The drawing was childish, but filled with hope and love. Emma realized that this decision was not just about her and Zara. Kira had already formed an attachment to Emma and was excited about the possibility of having her as a second mother. Whatever Emma decided would affect this innocent child, who had already been through so much. That evening, Emma had dinner with the entire Valthani delegation. She learned more about their world and their customs. She discovered that Valthani valued knowledge and scientific discovery just as much as humans did. They would welcome Emma's research skills and might even help advance her career. The delegation members were kind and respectful to Emma. They answered all her questions honestly and never pressured her to make a quick decision. Emma began to see that they were not trying to trick or manipulate her. They genuinely believed that the marriage would benefit everyone involved. As the evening ended, Emma felt more confused than ever. Part of her was intrigued by the opportunity to experience an alien culture from the inside. Another part was terrified of leaving behind everything familiar and safe. She knew that she needed more time to sort through her feelings before making such an important choice. Emma returned to her quarters that night, with her mind full of new information and possibilities. She had learned that Valthani marriage might not be as strange as she had first thought, but she still needed to decide if she was brave enough to take such a dramatic leap into the unknown. Emma woke up early the next morning with a new plan. She had decided to spend as much time as possible with Zara and Kira over the next few days. If she was going to make this decision, she needed to know them as people, rather than just as alien nobility. She found Zara and Kira in the station's hydroponics bay. They were examining the plants that grew there with great interest. Kira was asking questions about how humans grew food in space. Her curiosity reminded Emma of herself as a young scientist. Emma offered to give them a tour of the station's research facilities. Zara accepted gratefully and said she was very interested in seeing how humans conducted scientific work. Emma felt pleased that they shared this common interest. As they walked through the laboratories, Emma explained her research into alien biology. Zara listened carefully and asked intelligent questions that showed she understood complex concepts. Emma learned that Zara had studied biochemistry before taking on her noble duties. In Emma's personal laboratory, Zara examined the equipment with obvious expertise. She suggested improvements to some of Emma's procedures that could make her work more efficient. Emma realized that Zara was not just a political leader, but also a skilled scientist in her own right. Kira played with simple chemistry sets while the adults talked. She mixed safe chemicals to create colorful reactions that made her laugh with delight. Emma enjoyed watching the child's enthusiasm for learning and discovery. During lunch, Zara told Emma more about life on the Valthani homeworld. She described cities built inside massive crystal formations that amplified and focused energy from their sun. She talked about laboratories, where scientists could manipulate matter at the molecular level. Emma learned that the Valthani were facing many of the same challenges as humans. Their population was growing, and they needed to find new sources of food and energy. They were also dealing with diseases that their traditional medicine could not cure. Zara explained that marrying Emma would not just fulfill a cultural obligation, it would also create opportunities for scientific collaboration between their species. Emma's knowledge of human medicine, combined with Valthani technology, could lead to breakthroughs that would help both peoples. Emma asked about the practical aspects of their potential marriage. Would she be expected to live on the Valthani homeworld permanently, or could she divide her time between worlds? Zara assured her that they could work out arrangements that would let Emma continue her research career. Zara also explained that Valthani nobles were expected to contribute to society in meaningful ways. Emma's scientific skills would be valued and supported by their government. She might even be given resources that human researchers could only dream of having. That afternoon, Emma spent time alone with Kira while Zara attended to diplomatic business. The little girl was intelligent and sweet, but also showed signs of the pressure that came with being a future ruler. She sometimes seemed older than her years. Kira told Emma about her fears and dreams. She was excited about eventually leading her people, but worried about making mistakes that could hurt them. She missed her father and sometimes felt lonely, despite being surrounded by servants and advisors. Emma found herself giving Kira advice about dealing with responsibility and pressure. She talked about how science taught patience and careful observation. She suggested that good leaders asked lots of questions and listened to many different viewpoints before making decisions. Kira seemed to drink up Emma's attention and guidance. She had clearly been hoping for a maternal figure who could provide emotional support along with practical wisdom. Emma began to understand how much her presence could mean to this child's development. That evening, Amy Rodriguez joined Emma for dinner in her quarters. Amy had been monitoring the diplomatic negotiations and had updates about the political situation. She also wanted to hear about Emma's personal feelings regarding the marriage proposal. Amy reported that the human government was very interested in forming closer ties with the Valthani. The potential for technology transfer and scientific collaboration was enormous. However, they also wanted to make sure that Emma was not being pressured into a decision she might regret. Emma told Amy about her growing respect for Zara's intelligence and character. She also described her growing attachment to Kira and her desire to help the child succeed. Amy listened carefully and asked thoughtful questions about Emma's motivations. Amy pointed out that Emma seemed to be focusing on how the marriage could benefit others rather than what it might mean for her own happiness. She encouraged Emma to think about her own needs and desires rather than just her sense of duty or scientific curiosity. Emma realized that Amy was right. She had been so overwhelmed by the magnitude of the decision that she had not really considered her own feelings. She needed to honestly examine whether she could be happy in such an unusual marriage arrangement. That night, Emma lay in bed, thinking about her life before Zara and Kira had arrived. She had been content with her research and her quiet routine on the station. But she had also been somewhat isolated and focused only on her work. She rarely formed close relationships with other people. Emma admitted to herself that she had been lonely at times. She had always been more comfortable with scientific problems than with personal relationships. The idea of joining a ready-made family was both appealing and terrifying. She thought about Zara's offer to share the marriage bed that could connect their minds and emotions. The idea of such intimacy with another person was frightening but also intriguing. Emma had always wondered what it would be like to truly understand another consciousness. Emma also considered the adventure aspect of Zara's proposal. She had spent her career studying alien life from a distance. The chance to experience an advanced alien culture from the inside was a unique opportunity that might never come again. But there were also serious risks to consider. If the marriage did not work out, Emma might find herself stranded far from human space, with no way to return to her old life. She could also damage important diplomatic relationships if things went badly. The next morning Emma made her decision. She requested a private meeting with Zara to discuss the terms of their potential marriage. She had concluded that the opportunity was worth the risks, but she wanted to establish some ground rules first. Emma met Zara in the observation lounge where they had first talked seriously about the marriage proposal. Emma explained that she was willing to accept the marriage offer, but only if they could agree on certain conditions. Emma wanted guarantees that she could continue her scientific research and maintain connections with human society. She also wanted assurances that she would have a real voice in decisions about Kira's upbringing and education. Most importantly, Emma wanted time for them to get to know each other, gradually, without the pressure of immediate physical intimacy. She suggested that they start as partners and friends, and see if deeper feelings developed naturally over time. Zara listened to Emma's conditions with obvious relief and happiness. She agreed to all of Emma's requests and said she had been hoping that Emma would want to build their relationship slowly and naturally. She had no desire to force intimacy that was not genuine. Zara also offered additional concessions that Emma had not even thought to ask for. She promised that Emma could visit human space regularly and could even bring human colleagues to work on the Valthani homeworld. She wanted Emma to feel connected to both cultures rather than cut off from her origins. Emma felt a weight lift from her shoulders as they worked out the details of their agreement. For the first time since the proposal was made, she felt genuinely excited about the possibilities ahead, rather than just anxious about the risks. As they shook hands to seal their agreement, Emma realized that she was about to embark on the greatest adventure of her life. She was nervous, but also proud of herself for having the courage to take such a dramatic leap into the unknown. Emma stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the ceremonial robes that Zara had given her. The fabric was unlike anything she had ever worn. It seemed to respond to her emotions, changing from nervous blue to hopeful silver as her feelings shifted. Today was the day of their bonding ceremony. The past week had been a whirlwind of preparation. Human and Valthani diplomats had worked together to create a ceremony that honored both cultures. Since no one had ever married across these species before, they were essentially creating new traditions. Emma had insisted that the ceremony take place on Aurora Dawn Station, where their story had begun. Zara had agreed, saying that the location where Emma had saved Kira's life was the perfect place to unite their families. Representatives from both governments had traveled to witness this historic event. Commander Brooks had cleared the station's main assembly hall for the ceremony. The room had been decorated with both human flowers and Valthani crystals that sang in harmony when touched by light. The marriage bed had been placed at the center of the room, covered with a cloth that sparkled like starlight. Emma walked to the ceremony hall with Amy Rodriguez at her side. Amy had agreed to serve as Emma's witness and supporter during the bonding ritual. She had also helped Emma understand the deeper meanings behind each part of the ceremony. The hall was filled with people from both species. Emma saw crew members from the station sitting next to elegant Valthani nobles. She spotted scientists and diplomats mixed together in the audience. Everyone seemed genuinely excited to witness this unusual union. Zara stood at the front of the room wearing robes that shifted through every color of the rainbow. She looked radiantly beautiful, but also nervous. When she saw Emma enter the room, her face lit up with a warm smile that made Emma's heart flutter with unexpected affection. Little Kira ran up to Emma, wearing a smaller version of the ceremonial robes. She carried a bouquet of flowers that grew on both human and Valthani worlds. She handed the flowers to Emma and whispered that she was excited to officially become Emma's daughter. The ceremony began with representatives from both species explaining the significance of what was happening. They spoke about how marriage between their peoples could create stronger bonds and better understanding between their civilizations. Emma and Zara then spoke their own vows to each other. Emma promised to honor Valthani traditions while bringing her own perspective to their family. She vowed to help raise Kira with wisdom and compassion. She also promised to support Zara in her duties as a leader. Zara promised to respect Emma's human heritage and to help her feel at home in Valthani society. She vowed to share her knowledge and resources to advance Emma's scientific work. Most importantly, she promised to build their relationship on mutual respect and genuine partnership. The most meaningful part of the ceremony came when they approached the marriage bed together. Zara explained to the audience that this living furniture would allow them to share dreams, thoughts, and emotions. It represented the deepest possible connection between two conscious beings. Emma felt nervous as she placed her hand on the warm wood of the bed frame. The moment her skin touched the living surface, she gasped in amazement. She could suddenly sense Zara's emotions as clearly as her own. She felt Zara's genuine affection for her, along with hope for their future together. Through the connection, Emma also sensed Kira's pure joy and excitement about having Emma as part of her family. The child's love was so strong and that it brought tears to Emma's eyes. She realized that she already cared deeply for both Zara and Kira. The ceremony concluded with a celebration feast featuring foods from both cultures. Emma tried Valthani dishes that tasted like music and light. She watched human and alien guests talking and laughing together, as if they had been friends for years. Later that evening, Emma found herself alone with Zara and Kira in their guest quarters. The formal part of their bonding was complete, but the real work of building a family was just beginning. Emma felt both excited and overwhelmed by everything that had happened. Kira fell asleep curled up between Emma and Zara while they talked quietly about their plans. They discussed where they would live and how they would blend their different cultures. They talked about Kira's education and how to prepare her for eventual leadership. Emma learned that they would spend half their time on the Valthani homeworld and half traveling to different research facilities. Zara had arranged for Emma to have access to laboratories that were far more advanced than anything humans had built. Emma would be able to pursue research that could benefit both species. Over the following months, Emma discovered that her new life was everything Zara had promised, and more. The Valthani homeworld was breathtakingly beautiful, with cities that seemed to grow naturally from crystalline mountains. The people were welcoming and eager to learn from Emma's human perspective. Emma's research flourished, with access to technology and resources. She made breakthroughs in treating diseases that had puzzled both species for generations. Her work became a symbol of what could be accomplished through cooperation between different civilizations. Her relationship with Zara developed slowly but steadily into something deeper than either had expected. They found that they enjoyed each other's company and shared similar values about family and responsibility. The mental connection through their marriage bed allowed them to understand each other in ways that normal couples never could. Emma became a beloved second mother to Kira, who thrived under the attention and guidance of two very different but equally caring parents. The child grew into a confident and thoughtful young leader who could bridge the gap between human and Valthani cultures. Emma often thought back to that desperate night when Zara had pounded on her laboratory door, seeking help for her dying daughter. She had never imagined that her simple act of compassion would lead to such a complete transformation of her life. She had gained not just a family but a purpose that was larger than her individual research interests. She had become a bridge between worlds, helping the species understand and learn from each other. Her work was creating a better future for countless beings across the galaxy. Emma realized that sometimes the most important decisions in life came disguised as emergencies or unexpected opportunities. By choosing to help a stranger in need, she had discovered possibilities she never knew existed. Her willingness to take risks and embrace the unknown had led to rewards beyond her wildest dreams. As she watched Kira practicing her leadership skills and saw Zara working to improve life for their people, Emma felt proud of the choice she had made. She had found love and purpose in the most unlikely circumstances. Her act of saving one small life had led to saving many others through the scientific and cultural advances their marriage had made possible. Emma knew that their unusual family would continue to face challenges as they worked to build bridges between different worlds. But she also knew that they had something special that would help them overcome any obstacles. They had proven that compassion and understanding could create bonds that transcended species and transform the galaxy itself.